right, last night you would have heard, and it's been a constant refrain from AA, and I have to say, certainly not representing me as a member of AA, um, that the motoring organisation representing, as I said, 1.1 million personal members, of which I'm one, but they certainly didn't ask my opinion on this, has renewed calls for an overhaul of traffic penalties, road penalties, arguing that their deterrent value has been outpaced by income growth in the past 3 decades. AA's road safety spokesperson Dylan Thompson said that the outdated system was failing to change driver behaviour, anything from us speeding through to us texting as we're driving along. A series of sort of what you call petty decisions, petty offences. The Transport Minister, Christopher Bishop, said yesterday in a statement that he remained committed to reviewing penalties for traffic offences. Actually, I saw him on television last night. I think he's way more than committed on the basis of what I said. And he said most of the financial penalties and demerit point levels for road offences or traffic offences have not been reviewed since 1999. And as a result, a number of these penalties, he said, as Transport Minister, are too low to defer unsafe behaviour. The AA spokesman also said that surveys of its members showed that less than half believed current fines effectively discouraged common offences, including speeding, seatbelt violations, mobile phone use, and drink or drug driving. I think on the latter, nothing would stop that, just quietly. But but then there are concerns on the other alternative that higher fines might concern cash-strapped motorists. But we will talk. And to our transport commentator and well-known in this particular area over decades now, Clive Matthew-Wilson joins us to comment on and provide us some insight into. Clive, thanks very much for joining on the show. Nice to have you on. Thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you.
All right, mate. There's the background. You would have seen it. Are the AA right, in your view?
No.
We are not
No.
changing our behaviour because the fines are too low.
So multiple studies have shown, and in fact it's accepted as a fact in most road safety circles, is that fines and disqualifications have no effect on the highest risk offenders. So they work on you and me because we're basically law-abiding. And if you're, say, driving really fast past a wedding, that's totally unacceptable because there are going to be people wandering around and maybe they're going to be drunk and kids are going to be running out on the road. So there is a really good place for fines when people are behaving like idiots. I think we all agree on that. However, the highest risk groups pay no attention to road safety messages. Many of them, if you give them a ticket, they just add it to the pile. They've got no way of paying it. They won't pay it. They have a long history of not paying it. And they're usually blotto when they run into your car and kill you.
Right. So it's not going to affect speeding, seatbelt violations, mobile phone use and drink or drug driving, any of those?
Well, it'll affect the lowest risk groups. So research since the 1950s has shown that educated people have approximately a quarter of the road deaths of poorly educated people. The one factor, apart from, the three factors that decide whether you live or die on our roads are effectively your age, your education, and your vehicle, right? And
okay.
the highest risk group is poor, poorly educated, young, driving an unsafe car and probably not wearing a seatbelt and probably blotto when they have the accident. If you look at the New Zealand Herald this morning, 5 dead. The guy was smoking cannabis and snorting nitrous oxide while he was driving. And there wasn't a median barrier, so he ran into a car in the opposing lane, 5 dead, unnecessarily. You know, do you think that he would really care if you gave him a ticket? I don't think so.
I do not. But the interesting thing is, though, that the AA think like this. They must be aware of the surveys that have been taken, the research that's been done. Why then would they be seeking to lobby for this, do you think?
Well, three reasons. One, they probably believe it themselves. So one of the biggest traps for people from places like Wellington is they do what would work for them,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
the most road deaths occur in rural roads, well away from speed cameras and police cars, and the people tend to be blotto when they crash. And they also tend to be poorly educated, and many of them are just outside the system. So
Yeah. Okay.
the what would work for you and me doesn't work for the highest risk groups.
So we've got that Wellington perception again, haven't we? That Wellington policymakers where I'm educated, I would act this way. I therefore translate that particular perception to everybody else, and they must surely work as a consequence of me imposing these fines and demerit points.
That's nicely put.
All right. Well, seriously, it's the reason that our social policy over the last 30 or 40 years has been a disaster, because it's been created by exactly the people that you've described in Wellington for people who also fit exactly the description of people who don't live in Wellington. All right, so the next issue here is if the government do start to impose, well, here's another question. Fines don't work with me either, but demerit points I get a bit iffy about, because about 6 months ago I had some policeman knocking on my door demanding my license, and he was suspending me from driving for 3 months because I'd accumulated 3 speeding offences over 2 years, of course, which is easy to do in central Otago, can I tell you. Do demerit points work?
Not for the high risk groups. Again, study after study. I'm not talking about my opinion. I'm not
Mm,
talking about what me and my friends talk about. I'm talking about
mm.
multiple studies all over the planet show that the risk of fines and disqualification have no effect on the highest risk offenders, but in fact may make the situation worse, because you've got a young guy who's been behaving like an idiot at times, and God knows we all have at times. And so you disqualify him, you've just added one more criminal offence. And so next time he gets prison, and you put him in prison with the mongrel mob, which he joins. Well done.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I'm not arguing with a thing that you're saying, but I am interested though in what does work to moderate driver behaviour. What changes might we make in the transport sector, Clive, to be able to
Well,
reduce those?
so
Yep.
here's a really easy one. You're on your way to work. You're in a bit of a hurry. You don't normally use your phone, but you do that day because it's an important call. A cop pulls you over and says, "Thank you, I'm confiscating that phone permanently." That would be a bad day. So my proposal is first offence, lose the phone immediately forever. Second offence, you lose the phone and the number. That would devastate me, right? Because I've been able to function. You've all got my number. If you can't get hold of me, you can't interview me. The third offence, if I really have a slow learner, you take the phone, you take the number, and you take my car for a week. I guarantee that the number of people in black SUVs driving down Lambton Quay talking on the phone will stop overnight. It'll drop to nothing overnight. You could do the
But will it,
same with
will
seatbelt.
it affect? Here's the question though, and we've talked about the extreme cases. Will it affect, for example, the truck driver, the female truck driver, who was texting, going down the motorway, and then killed one, two people, and I think she's been let out of jail now, which is as a consequence of her. Will it affect her behaviour?
Yes, because if she doesn't have if losing her phone, if losing your phone is one of the most devastating things that we can all suffer, because virtually we have 100% of people with them. Everybody is in constant contact with somebody else, like the kids are waiting for you to come home. Losing the number is devastating if you are using a phone for work, which most people are. But also, if she was a third offender, she would lose the truck as well for a week. That would have she would be fired, of course, and that would have a significant effect. All you have to see is this happening to a few people, and the word would get around.
Okay, so you're thinking that that would have an effect upon these high risk groups, because I'm thinking, Clive, no consequences is going to affect the drinking druggie is there?